citizens to face trial in China. Before you even had time to say, Daryl, you might regret that, China's government responded swiftly. China Central Television, or CCTV, quickly announced the network would no longer show NBA preseason games, with Tencent also following suit on this pledge shortly after. In addition, the Chinese Basketball Association confirmed they would no longer be working with the Rockets, given Maury's tweet. Now, we can get into the whole political drama of one side versus the other, but let me keep it simple and about business. While Adam Silver announced recently that the league has probably lost hundreds of millions of dollars in the wake of this fallout, it may surprise you that I don't think this will be a huge issue long-term for the NBA. Remember, at the end of the day, there is certainly also a lot at stake for China from an economic growth perspective with this partnership, and they've already started broadcasting games again. As the NBA is immensely popular Far East, damage to the league brand is also money taken out of the hands of China, and Lord knows they can't afford any more shocks to their economy with the current global issue that must not be named. Thanks, you two. All jokes aside, in summary, the message has been received loud and clear by the league, and they will need to walk a tightrope to maintain access to Chinese fans, which I believe they will be able to accomplish. So instead of offering you guys some low-hanging fruit as the reason for the league's decline, let us move to the real three major problems that I find a lot more concerning.
Each of us has a purpose. We are destined to do something meaningful, not only to support our loved ones, but to positively impact our communities throughout the country. What do you think a private Christian education looks like? Grand Canyon University graduates 25,000 students yearly and offers more than 225 high-quality programs across 9 colleges. Find your purpose at GCU. Visit gcu.edu.
Number 3, LeBron James carries too much weight in interest of NBA viewing. I wish I was kidding when I say this, but with the $37.7 million salary this year with the Los Angeles Lakers, there is no question LeBron James is criminally underpaid and is arguably the most underpaid athlete in the entire world. Why do I say that? Well, beyond looking at how many players and coaches LeBron got paid as a result of their success playing with him, including Mozgov, J.R. Smith, Matthew Dellavedova, and Tristan Kardashian, the entire league's ratings are directly impacted by the storyline surrounding the kid from Akron, a very insecure position for any business to be in. Moving from Cleveland to Los Angeles starting in the 2018-19 season, the typical primetime games around 7 to 8 Eastern have taken a beating without the King storylines to keep fans engaged, showing a 5% decline in all matchups last year and 12% down this year across ESPN, TNT, and ABC. With respect to the 2019 playoffs, the league completely nosedived without LeBron involved, headlined by the NBA Finals earning the lowest amount of average viewers since 2009. Look, it goes without saying the NBA benefits largely from having superstars that carry a brand far more powerful and distinct from any particular team they play for. But there is certainly room for concern when you think about how much LeBron James represents the NBA and how many casual fans see the two as interchangeable. No matter what you think about James Harden, Giannis, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, none of their brands come close to what LeBron James brings to the table, and his eventual retirement will be a significant hurdle for the league to overcome. Fortunately, with players like Luka, Zion, and Giannis all 25 and under, there is definitely enough time for these guys to build a stronger narrative to their current legacy in the NBA and become the next player to challenge the throne of Michael Jordan, which, if we're being honest, the GOAT storyline remains a key element to driving long-term interest for casual and diehard NBA fans. Number 2, the drop in cable households hurts the NBA, but it's not that simple. So Mr. Billionaire and Mavs owner Mark Cuban is a guy we know isn't shy to share his perspective at why ratings have gone down, and he offers a very straightforward answer as to why this is the case. In case you've been living under a rock, cable TV subscriptions have decreased dramatically over the last decade in the wake of a new digital world, and this naturally impacts the viewers for standard cable programming. In a Twitter post, Cuban spoke to this phenomenon as a reason for the NBA's problem, saying, quote, "Ratings are down because all of our national broadcasts are exclusively on cable, which is losing subs daily, and that football benefits from being on broadcast TV, which is in every digital and traditional package, along with gambling available in some of the biggest markets." Before breaking this down, let me quickly explain the difference between broadcast networks and cable networks. For simplicity, all you need to know is when you hear broadcast network, think...
You guys, so there's this new feature from Chime called Spot Me that allows eligible members to make debit card purchases with no overdraft fees. So
think CBS, Fox, ABC, and NBC, whereas cable TV networks are channels like ESPN, MTV, and TNT. Cuban is essentially trying to argue that the NBA has the majority of their games shown on cable, while the NFL, whose ratings were excellent last year, is shown on broadcast programming, which obviously is not directly impacted by the decline of pure cable subscriptions. Yet, upon fact-checking his take for accuracy, I actually found some massive gaps in this argument. While I agree largely that the decrease in cable subscriptions hurts the NBA's ratings in general, the evidence shows it really boils down to a lot more factors. First of all, Cuban is a bit deceptive in leaving out the fact that Monday Night Football is shown exclusively via ESPN, a cable network, and the program received its highest average ratings in 4 years in 2019. Based on Cuban's hypothesis, Monday Night Football should have also seen ratings decline similar to the NBA, but this did not happen. In addition, it's not like the NBA doesn't show any of its programming via broadcast. After the football season, the league has Saturday Primetime and Sunday Showcase shown exclusively via ABC, and of course in June, ABC also carries the NBA Finals. As I already mentioned, 2019 NBA Finals were down in a big way, and this year's NBA programming on ABC has also plummeted according to Sports Media Watch. With that said, I can't reject Cuban's viewpoint completely, as I do think the rate in which cable viewers decline going forward is something to watch very, very closely, especially at a time where the global economy is in a spookily fragile state thanks to the spread of the thing that cannot be named or I'll get demonetized. If the economy indeed bottoms out, the American consumer and their respective debt may come to a scary head. Number one, fans have changed the way they consume the NBA, for better and for worse. Guys, this is the factor I think is being missed by a lot of people that are trying to find out an answer to why the league is dealing with the loss in TV viewers. For all the good that was accomplished by Adam Silver and his team the last decade to prioritize the NBA's place with the digital consumer and keeping fan engagement at an all-time high, changing the way customers consume your product may also cause negative consequences you did not foresee originally. Because when you make things so available and so consumable in different ways, it will eat into your main form of distribution. Here's a good analogy. Tom and Sally have been dating for several years, and Sally is only willing to do a certain activity in the bedroom. Over time, to improve their relationship, Sally decides she's okay to start doing said activity in other places, which might include the couch, the car, or the beach. Tom is now super happy and satisfied, but the activity he and Sally conduct has been distributed over several places and decreases the overall time of activity in the bedroom. While I'll let you guys figure out the activity, quick hint, it is not Jenga. This is exactly what is happening to the NBA. Because there are now so many mediums to consume NBA outside of television, there is a drag on the ratings from their most important avenue. So although it's great for the average...
Just imagine the perfect small business that you could start. What would that look like? You'd be able to work from home. You wouldn't have to rent expensive commercial office.
Average fan to be able to catch full highlights via YouTube. It also awkwardly puts into question the added value of watching full games for 2.5 hours versus a 10-minute highly edited video that cuts out all the fluff. No doubt, for a ton of die-hard NBA viewers, the second option is simply not enough, but for the casual fan, it may be all that they need. In fact, maybe they don't need to see full highlights at all. They can capture all their NBA via NBA memes on Instagram or House of Highlights. Keeping it a buck, the NBA season is 82 games, and it's hard to find a real reason why it needs to be that long, apart from added revenue from TV and ticket sales. By Christmas, we know who the real contenders are going to be every year, and the rest of the regular season is just a matter of hoping stars stay healthy for the playoffs. Hence the issue with load management and excessive resting. In comparison to the NFL, where a 16-game regular season makes every week so valuable and so important, the interest for viewers works itself out. By the way, Sally ended up breaking things off with Tom after he asked if her sister could. So at this point you might be thinking, okay Kobe, how exactly does the NBA improve their viewership? Well, here's a list of a few recommendations that I think will work wonders. Actually guys, because I think this video is getting a bit long and there is still a lot to digest, don't hate me, but I'm going to cut it here and make a part 2 video. Because I want this to be a conversation rather than just a presentation, before giving my recommendations on how to improve NBA's sinking viewership, I want to hear from you all. Given what I've mentioned so far and why the NBA is losing viewers, what changes would you make if you were the NBA commissioner? Sorry for breaking up the vid, but I really need another 10 to 15 minutes to discuss how they can improve. If you enjoyed part 1, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe. And with that said, hope you guys have a great rest of the day or night, or whatever time it is. I'll be back at it soon with part 2. Peace out.
What just happened was disgusting. The guy gave up in Game 3. This is terrible. This is the worst thing that could ever happen to Cleveland since Modell taking the Browns away. Bottom line.
Stepping up to the couch, it's Brian, who led the league last season in cracked screens. But with his new athletic case, it looks like that won't be the case. Touchdown, Brian!
Towards your bills, but you need a little gas to get you through the next payday. That's where Chime comes in. They have this new feature called Spot Me. It lets you cover up to $100 until you get paid next with no fees. What are you waiting for? Join Chime.
Being out in the green, I'm kind of actually just in my own head. There's nothing else that exists. As dreams go, you never really know.
I'm wondering whether or not, I just want to know what pictures Bill O'Brien has on somebody. I want to know what the hell has he done to not only be the head coach, but the GM and the front office executive, the man for the Houston Texans. What the hell has he done? He's been to the playoffs, about 4 or 5 times. He's only missed the playoffs twice. He's been in the playoffs 4 times, and he's missed the playoffs twice in the 6 years as head coach for the Houston Texans, but they've never been a threat to win the Super Bowl. We all know this, and there's a couple of times, particularly when Matt Schaub was there, where they underachieved after having an exceptional season, and that wasn't under Bill O'Brien.
So, as I mentioned, now that Jerry Jones has said, tag you're it to Dak Prescott, how should Dak play it when it comes to OTAs and training camp and then real games as we head toward next year?
Well, Skip, the only leverage that he has currently is that he hasn't signed the contract. So once as long as he isn't signed, if he doesn't show up for OTAs or mini camps or training camp, he can't be fined. Now, he puts his name on that contract, it's a different story. I believe the only leverage Dak has in order to get the contract done, because he has to sign a long-term deal by July 15th. If the deal, maybe they push it back, kind of like they did a little bit. They're going to push OTAs and things like that back, Skip.
Yep.
Now, we don't know, but let's just say they're going to leave it as is. July 15th, anybody that's been franchise tagged must have a long-term deal, or they must play up under the tag. For me, I believe the only leverage that Dak has is to skip OTAs, put pressure on Jerry. Skip minicamp, put pressure on Jerry. Maybe the first 2 or 3 days of training camp, provided that camp starts before July 15th. Because once July 15th coming past, he doesn't have a long-term deal, it's a no-go. He has to play up under the tag. So it's all a moot at that point in time, Skip. If he doesn't have the long-term deal by July 15th, he might as well just go ahead and show up. Skip, it seems to me that Jerry has an idea, Jerry and Steven, maybe it's a family decision, that they have an idea of where the number they want to get to and what they think Dak's worth. Dak is looking at, he says, I just saw Ryan Tannehill get 62 fully guaranteed for 8 games and 2 playoff games.
Yep.
I haven't missed
what he did last year.
What he did last year. He says, I haven't missed a start in 4 years. I've won 2 divisions. I won a playoff game. And you want to get...
Oh, my God.
Now, all the guys that got long-term deals, you look at Russell Wilson, you look at Aaron Rodgers, you look at Wentz, and you look at Goff. Skip, those guys had years or multiple years on their contract. Dak says, I'm totally free. So, in other words, Skip, they signed at a somewhat of a discount because they had years to go. Dak says, I have no years. I will give you no discount. So, this is where they are, Skip. It's going to get ugly. Because we talked about this when you and I, we were on the air with Kirk Cousins. Kirk was going through what I mean, Skip, this is not going to end well. If they don't get something done, Skip, you're going to be in for another Cousins situation.
Although, you could say it ended well for Kirk Cousins. He made a ton of money.
A boatload. Ain't got to do this.
He's still making a ton of money, right?
He did.
He might be making the most money over the last 5 years of anybody.
He's sitting pretty. He's sitting pretty.
Okay, so Shannon Sharp says this is about to get ugly. Or you say ugly as in Dak, if he's stuck with the tag and they're still at a contractual impasse after July 15th, would he start missing real games?
I don't believe Dak will miss real games, but let me tell you what, Skip. You remember last year there were times that it was 3rd and short and Dak would lower his shoulder with no regard for his personal well-being. In the back of my mind, he's like, the only thing that can prevent me from getting a long-term deal, maybe it's not here, but from anybody, is I'm injured. So now, Skip, all of a sudden, you know that third down, all of a sudden 3rd and 4? Now I'm going to have to slide down to 3rd and 3. We're going to have to punt this ball. All that factors in, Skip. Contrary to what anybody tells you, they go out there and just play. You play like that, Skip, when you have the security to know that, you know what, I got another year. I got $33 million coming next year, or $40 million coming next year. It's when you don't.
My gut's over here. It's a thought of everything you were suggesting. Look, I'm going to disqualify some of what you say because I'm going to remind our faithful viewers out there, Shannon Sharp is a Cowboy hater. Shannon Sharp would love to see my Cowboys fall on their faces, their pretty faces, again next year and miss the playoffs for a 2nd straight year so he could win 5 more cases of Hyatt Mountain Dew. Am I right?
That would be lovely.
So you are encouraging dissension and chaos in the locker room. You're hoping that their leader is the one who's causing the dissension and chaos.
Jerry brought this about. Jerry could have made this a moot point. Just pay the man.
I'm going to say this one more time. You don't know that for a fact. I'm to the point that I believe that Dak and his agent are bringing this about because I'm going to remind you of a constant refrain from Jerry Jones over the low, these, 30, 40, what am I going on, since 1989, knowing Jerry Jones. Constant refrain. When have you known me not to get one of these deals done?
Right.
Well, now I do, Jerry. This is the first time. I know you not to get this one done. Now, you still have until July 15th.
Correct.
But the clock or the time bomb are both ticking right now, right?
Right.
Because this could blow up in everybody's face, but I am now convinced that Dak is asking for out-of-bounds money. I'm convinced he's asking for more than you can even fathom right now, more than you could comprehend, and it would be up to Jerry to leak to the media just how dug in Dak and Todd France are at this figure that I think is out of bounds, and they're not going to leak it because they don't want to cut their nose off to spite their face because they still need Dak to be the face of and leader of the entire franchise. So they don't want to undercut his credibility by saying, hey, Cowboy Nation, he's asking for X, Y, and are you believing Z? Because he's asking for more money by far than any quarterback has ever asked for, including probably Patrick Mahomes when he's going to get his new deal in the very near future. So I'm to the point where I'm saying Jerry always gets these done. Jerry's known more for overpaying. Am I right? He overpaid his entire offensive line. He overpaid, you could argue, Ezekiel Elliott, as we talked about off the Gurley deal. Now Gurley obviously is out of L.A. on this big contract that he got, and he's now an Atlanta Falcon for 1 year. They only gave him $6 million. He gets $5 from the Rams, so he's going to make $11 next year. But the only reason Jerry had to cave on Zeke was Todd Gurley's deal. Did he overpay? You could argue. Did he overpay DeMarcus Lawrence? Yes, he did off the production you got from him last year. Did he overpay Jalen Mills? Yes, he did off the production you got from him. I mean, Jalen, sorry. He would really have to overpay Jalen Mills because he's not very good, right? But I thought Jalen Smith was really good. We had him on the show at the Super Bowl. And he didn't live up to his contract last year. So you got a whole bunch of overpaid underachievers. And now he's horrified, I believe Jerry is, at the prospect of way overpaying Dak, and he won't be able to live up because he bet on himself last year, and did he live up to that? Well, they went 8-8, and I keep telling you, I love Dak Prescott, but I cannot defend 8-8. That's all you throw back in my face. The quarterback started all 16 games, and they went 8-8.
Well, you defended a lot last year because you, when I tried to tell you it was Dak, you said it was the defense, or you said it was Zeke, or it was Jason Garrett. Now that he wants his money,
it's their fault. Yeah.
But here's the thing, Skip. Let me ask you a question. Okay, Russell Wilson got $70 million fully guaranteed with 2 years left. Aaron Rodgers got $79 million with 2 years left. Jared Goff got $57.6 fully guaranteed with 2 years left. Carson Wentz got $63 million with 2 years left. How much should Dak get with no years left on his contract if they got those numbers?
What if they say $40 million and $150 guaranteed?
No, whoa. Dak would have done sign that. You give him $150.
Okay, no, but what if he's asking for that?
No, I believe that if they were to go, let's just say for the sake of argument, 150 for 4 years, and they're going to do something around $80 million.
I don't know any of these figures. I don't believe anything because I just believe in Jerry getting deals done, and for some reason he's saying, no, sorry, I can't. Right? And everybody's jumping on Jerry. Just pay the man. Well, tell me what you're going to pay him. Give me something.
Well, it's going to have to come in somewhere with no years left on his contract, Skip. It's going to have to come in somewhere around $80 million fully guaranteed with about 150 to 160 over those 4 years.
Okay.
Because it seems like everybody's doing the 4-year deals. You see what your guy got 2 years. Most people are doing 3 years and 4-year deals, Skip. Phillip Rivers got a 1-year deal. Brady signed a 2-year deal. Teddy Bridgewater did 3 years. Drew Brees got 2 years. Tannehill got 4 years.
And Jerry does like the 5-year deals.
Yes.
Because you can spread out the bonus,
and plus, guess what, Skip? We got labor peace for 10 years. So the longer I can keep him under this contract, the better it's going to be.
Speaking of labor peace, did they not just agree?
From an early age, most of us take a dim view of snitches, and many of you will have known that kid at school that you might say was an informant for the teacher. Telltales, turncoats, tattlers, sneaks, squealers, stoolies, rats, and grassers. They don't usually come off as the best kind of people, but then you might look at a case more deeply and ask if perhaps that person did the right thing. Maybe they had no choice. It was getting one person in trouble or many others getting hurt. The criminal underworld might swear an oath of allegiance to never tell on others, but maybe there's a right time to snitch. Listen to these stories of well-known weasels and tell us what you think. Tim Allen. We guess there's a lot you don't know about the American actor and comedian called Tim Allen, who was actually born Timothy Allen Dick. The funny guy had quite a troubled life when he was young, and not many people know much about his cocaine dealing days. We're not talking about sorting friends out with a gram before they headed off to the 70s disco. We're talking about a serious dealer. There's some mention of this on his Wikipedia page, but the details are pretty scant. As the story goes, cops were onto Allen since he was selling quite a lot of the Colombian marching powder, and in 1978, there was a sting operation to capture him. He was caught with 1.4 pounds of cocaine, which was enough to be looking at some serious time behind bars. He didn't really do that much time, and that's because he snitched. He only ended up serving almost 2.5 years at the Federal Correctional Institution in Sandstone, Minnesota, even though he had been looking at more time. He once said in an interview, "I was put in a holding cell with 20 other guys. We had to crap in the same crapper in the middle of the room, and I just told myself, I can't do this for 7.5 years. I'm like, kill myself. He might have also been given a life sentence, because at the time of his arrest, a new law was passed that warranted such long sentencing for guys caught with large quantities of cocaine or heroin. In a book about his arrest, it said to get out of doing so much time, Allen agreed to cooperate with the authorities as to what was going down in the drug dealing scene in his area. That book states that he helped the authorities indict 20 people in the drug trade and resulted in the conviction and sentencing of 4 major drug dealers. It also says the judge made sure he wouldn't end up in a local prison because that could endanger his life. Court documents also revealed that the judge thought him to be a talented up-and-coming comedian. Elia Kazan. This Hollywood movie director was one of the greats. He directed movies that have gone down in history, such as A Streetcar Named Desire, On the Waterfront, and East of Eden. But in the 1950s and around the time his creative talents were peaking, he also became a government snitch and named... And these were some of the biggest names in Hollywood. You see, Kazan had once been a devoted
bullshit. I've been past the ball. But it is what it is.
And with the U.S. government paranoid about communists, they wanted to recruit him to ask him who in Hollywood circles was a commie. Kazan ended up testifying before the House Committee on Un-American Activities, and he gave up a lot of big names, mostly actors. Those actors' careers and in some part lives were then destroyed. They were blacklisted from Hollywood. At the time, a lot of other Hollywood names thought Kazan should not have done what he did, seeing that the red under the bed thing was viewed by some people as an all-American witch hunt that was far from ethical. Many years later, actors would condemn this director, even though his talent for making movies was never questioned. Ronald Reagan. The actor that would become the president of the United States was also a snitch and in fact spent a lot of time spying on his fellow actors and other creatives in the movie scene. Reagan wasn't a communist that had defected, but when in 1946 he was visited by the FBI and told commies were among him in Hollywood, he agreed to help. The FBI has files on lots of suspected communists, but with Reagan's help they got more information. The New York Times many years later would write that the evidence Reagan provided was not always cogent. In fact, while he usually did what he was told, he might well have given the FBI weak information that nonetheless affected a few careers. Known as Informant T10, Reagan was one of the many people in Hollywood that was giving information to the FBI. T10 was mentioned in an FBI document written in 1947 called Communist Infiltration of the Motion Picture Industry. There was also a well-known actress called T9. The document states that Reagan wouldn't just overhear people talking, but would actively interview people to find out what their political leanings were. Walt Disney. Yep, the man whose name is behind all those cartoons we all know and love was also a snitch. The New York Times wrote in the 90s that documents released under the Freedom of Information Act revealed that Walter Elias Disney had been an informant for the FBI from 1940 until he died in 1966. As with most classified files released to the public though, so much is blacked out. All the good bits, of course. But Disney, who was well known for being planted firmly on the right side of politics, testified before the committees on Un-American Activities in Washington. It said J. Edgar Hoover did favors for Disney, and Disney in return gave his scripts to Hoover to check them out. Maybe they would have content Hoover didn't approve of. It said Hoover even made a slight change to an episode of The Mickey Mouse Club. Disney made sure some Mickey Mouse cartoons made the police look like great guys. This was done to get into the heads of American children. The Times writes that because of all the work Disney did for the FBI, they made him a full special agent in charge contact. That same article states, as a bureau contact, Disney reported on the activities of Hollywood actors, writers, producers, directors, technicians, and union activists suspected of political subversion. It's not known just how many people were affected by Walt's involvement with the FBI. Kobe Bryant. In 2003, the famed basketball player Kobe Bryant was arrested on sexual assault charges. During this time, Bryant would tell the cops that his teammate, Shaquille O'Neal, would pay women $1 million to get his way with them. The charges were dropped against Bryant, but one might wonder why he threw O'Neal under the bus. Shaq always denied he did such things, once saying to the media, "I never hang out with Kobe, I never hung around with him. In the 7 or 8 years we were together, we were never together." So how this guy can think he knows anything about me or my business is funny. And one last thing, I'm not the one buying love, he's the one buying love. It seems these two really didn't get along, and in this case, the man who was snitched on snitched back. USA Today wrote, years later, after the case against him was dropped and a civil suit was settled out of court with no admission of guilt from Bryant, agents of prominent NBA players would still cite the O'Neal subplot as the sort of sin that inspired their clients to steer clear of Lakerland. Lil C's. American rapper James Lloyd, better known as Lil C's, said he wasn't really a snitch and he had no choice but to take the stand and offer evidence in a trial against his former friend, Lil Kim. She was convicted of perjury and ended up serving 1 year behind bars. While Lil C's was at the incident of a shootout involving Lil Kim and her crew and another crew, she never called him to defend her. Instead, the authorities called him. He said he had to do what they asked. Later, he said, being that we was witnesses there, the U.S. government subpoenaed us, and there's nothing you can do about that. When you're subpoenaed, you either come or they take your ass to jail. It's just that simple. Henry Hill. We'll only mention one snitch that put mafia colleagues behind bars because this man became famous, mainly thanks to Martin Scorsese's brilliant movie Goodfellas. But Hill, in his own right, became well known, notably for his interviews, especially his appearances on The Howard Stern Show. He also wrote a book called The Wise Guy Cookbook, My Favorite Recipes from My Life as a Goodfella to Cooking on the Run. Before any of that happened, he was put on the Witness Protection Program because he ratted on people belonging to the mafia. Hill was not exactly a model person in the Witness Protection Program and was eventually removed from it. How did he feel about sending people to prison? It seems he thought it was him or them, and he decided to look after himself. As for the many who suffered while he was in the mafia, he once told the BBC, "I don't give a heck what those people think. I'm